In the decade since its release, the anime Puella Magi Madoka Magica has inspired countless fans to write video essays and long blog entries. This is especially true after the controversial ending of the third movie, The Rebellion, which aired in 2014. Like for many others before me, this series had a huge impact on me, and I have rewatched it more times than I am willing to admit. It was during one of these rewatches that the idea for this essay was born. It was summer of 2020 and I was spending my days bored out of my mind in quarantine, rewatching my favorite shows and just chilling. When the ending credits for Rebellion started rolling, I started rambling about Nietzsche and Homura and all sorts of nerdy stuff to my friends, who jokingly told me I should make a video essay about this. The idea did not sit well with me initially. Who would ever listen to me ramble about Homura and philosophy for God knows how long? Philosophy used to be my favorite subject in high school and is still today a big part of my interests, but I have always felt self-conscious when talking about it to others, as it's often perceived as a very dry and boring topic. But the more I thought about writing an essay, the more I was tempted to just do it, and so here we are. It took my stupid ADHD brain around 2 years to finish this. The essay was the easiest part. Proofreading and cutting out some sections so that I didn't go off topic too much took longer. Mustering the courage to record myself reading it took months. Finding the motivation to edit this video took the whole summer. Actually more. In this video essay, I am only going to analyze Homura's character in the series and Rebellion through my own subjective lenses, so feel free to disagree. I certainly disagree with those who believe her to be evil, so I'm gonna try to be as objective as possible and analyze through philosophy, but of course my bias will show through at times. Please check the description box. I put all my sources and more info on the essay there, as well as the chapter titles with timestamps and a link to the original script written by me, so that you can follow along if you need to. I'm not a native English speaker, so sometimes my accent might be a bit off, and following the script might be useful. FYI, philosophy stuff starts in chapter 2. In the description box, I also listed some topics that I had cut out of the original essay. Please check them out and let me know if you'd be interested to hear more about them and in what format. Of course, I'm analyzing Homura, so the ending of Rebellion is a key element. So, spoiler warning for the whole series, the 12 episodes and the movies. Okay, yeah, anyway, enough rambling, here's Wonderwall. It is a truth universally acknowledged that Akemi Homura's wish was selfish in nature. At least, that is the most popular interpretation that I have seen around. But I can't help but wonder, was Homura's wish really selfish? I mean, she wished to meet Madoka again as someone who could protect her, putting herself at the center of the wish. Couldn't she just wish Madoka back to life, or just ask Cupid to make it so that Madoka was never a magical girl? Well, not really.
ホムラちゃん、私ね、あなたと友達になれて嬉しかった。あなたが魔女に襲われた時間に合って、今でもそれが自慢なの。だから、魔法少女になって本当に良かったって、そう思うんだ。
These are Madoka's last words before tragically dying at the end of the Walpurgisnacht. Now, imagine being Homura. After years of struggling with loneliness and chronic illness, you finally find a friend like Madoka. Madoka, who is so kind and so selfless, so beautiful, so well-liked. Madoka, who is actually so cool and so strong, a freaking magical girl, are you kidding me? Madoka, who saved your life in more ways than just one. Because Madoka not only saved Homura from the witch, but also from herself, from her own depression and suicidal tendencies. So now imagine seeing this friend die in front of your own eyes. This friend who made you discover the joy of being alive, the joy of having friends and loving them and being loved by them in return. She died because you were too weak to make a contract. Would she still be alive if you had helped her? She dies and you remember the last word she said to you. She knows she is probably about to die and she tells you very clearly that she does not regret becoming a magical girl because she was able to save you by being one. That she is happy you two are friends. And that she is so proud of having saved you that she cannot feel 1 ounce of regret about having made a contract. She dies and you're all alone again. What do you wish for? Do you wish her back to life? She might die again soon after coming back because you know she would attempt to fight the Walpurgis Night again. Then, do you wish she had never become a magical girl? You might never meet her, but she would be happy and alive. Well, of course not. She told you how proud she is of being a magical girl and how she doesn't regret it. You're Akemi Homura with a name that does not fit you. You're weak and cowardly and should have never been born. Except you met a girl who made you feel like maybe you do fit your name, who made you feel like you could be more than this, who made you wish you could be just as strong and amazing as her. You want to give back to her. She made your life so much better. You want to do the same for her. You owe her. You want to protect her because that's what she did for you. You want her to still be the same Madoka you met and loved, the same Madoka you know she is happy being, the same Madoka she told you she is proud being. And you want to pay your debt back. And so you redo it all and you tell her everything and you become a team. You like yourself more now and you can enjoy more time with the girl who gave you everything, while at the same time you can help her and give her a bit of the joy that she has given you. But she dies again. So you redo everything again. It can be fixed, right? You just need to prepare differently. But no can do. She dies again, and then again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and... And from then on, Homura does just this. Respecting Madoka's wish to live, even though it hurts, knowing that now Madoka does regret being a magical girl, even though that is the reason why you two met. Okay, I have to be completely honest. When I first rewatched the show, I thought that Madoka's action in this scene were incredibly selfish. Because yeah, she saves Homura's life, but then she kind of curses her to repeat these traumatic events just to save her from her own stupidity, so that she can be happy and not a magical girl, while Homura would stay stuck in this contract. But then I realized that Madoka's request actually encapsulates the girl's core essence. Hope. Hope that Homura would not only save her, but find a solution. Break this cycle, because Madoka believes in Homura. So Madoka put all her trust in Homura and hoped. Her actions paid off in episode 12, when it's Madoka herself who finds a solution to this cruel system. It's through a wish that does not get rid of the system or the perpetrators. Rather, it's through a wish that takes into account all the sacrifices, the hopes and dreams of magical girls before her. It's a wish that ultimately gives hope. Madoka's wish is to defeat all witches before they are born, everywhere, always. She becomes infinite and eternal. She becomes the multiverse itself. She takes all the immense suffering that makes witches what they are, and then dies in it, resurrecting into a divinity that saves the universe with her own suffering. Jesus Christ. Madoka's enormous wish is made possible only because of Homura's undying hope, and no, it's not just about karma. It's also because of this scene right here. Madoka refuses to believe that it was Homura's hope that had cursed her. She refuses to believe in a world in which hoping is your undoing, in which giving up is more convenient than keep on trying. Madoka's wish takes into account every single magical girl and the wish they died or despaired for. She does not want to erase their effort and suffering completely. She wants their sacrifices to have a meaning. Society only progressed through the wishes of magical girls? Well, Madoka won't erase that. Instead, she'll become the hope they all need. The hope they cannot give up on. The hope that Madoka refuses to believe is just a burden. Every magical girl can now have their wish granted and keep on hoping. Except for one. There is but one girl who does not get her wish fully granted, and that's Homura. All she wanted was to become strong enough to protect Madoka, but she was still left here alone. And Homura understands this. She ruefully accepts this. She misses Madoka dearly, but she keeps on fighting, because Madoka gave up her whole existence for some beauty that she saw in this world, and Homura will try to see it as well. At least until rebellion. Rebellion feels a bit like the allegory of the cave by Plato. If you're not familiar with the allegory, here's a simplified explanation. Imagine being born in a cave and being tied up so that you cannot see your own body, nor turn around, nor move. All you can see is the wall of the cave in front of you. Behind you is a fire, and behind it there are people who are moving objects around and chatting. Of course, not knowing the existence of anything else but what you have seen and experienced your whole life, you assume that the shadows that are cast in front of your eyes are alive and talking, that they are living things and not shadows at all. In the same way, Homura and the others are trapped in a theater of illusions, which they believe real, their memories of the real world altered. Homura is the first one who is led out of the cave, and when she looks around, she can see all these illusions for what they really are. Blinded by the truth, she starts looking around for the one who trapped them there, because they must be punished. Homura still believes in Madoka, in the sacrifice that she has made, and in the world that she has left behind. This theater of illusion is not right. Whoever trapped them into this dream world must be punished, because this is not what Madoka would have wanted. This is not the legacy that she has left behind. However, this seemingly unwavering faith does not survive long after these words. In a moment, everything changes. In a moment, idols fall. It is a pivotal moment that explains Homura's actions to come, a moment that allows us a peek into both Homura's and Madoka's true feelings. And I know you all know what scene I am talking about. It's the flower field scene.
でも大丈夫だよ。私だけが誰にも会えなくなるほど遠くに一人で行っちゃうなんて、そんなことありっこないよ。どうして？なぜそう言い切れるの？だって私だよ。ホムラちゃんでさえ泣いちゃうような辛いこと、私が我慢できるわけないじゃない。あなたにとってもそれは我慢できないほど辛いこと。誰とだってお別れなんてしたくない。もし他にどうしようもない時だったとしても、そんな勇気私にはないよ。やっぱり認めちゃいけなかったんだ。あの時私はどんな手を使ってでもあなたを止めなきゃいけなかった。もしかしたらあなたは幻かもしれないって、誰かが用意した偽物かもしれないって思ってた。でなければこうしてまた会えるなんて。どう考えてもおかしいもの。でもわかる。あなたは本当のマドカだわ。
In this scene, Homura realizes that this is the real Madoka, and suddenly understands that Madoka's choice has caused her suffering. Deep down she knew this, and she hates herself. She hates herself for allowing Madoka to make a choice that she knew would hurt her. Homura hates herself for convincing herself that Madoka was okay and happy, and that she just had to accept it. She put all her faith in Madoka, into this divinity who saved the world, only to then realize that God is not happy. That God is just a human girl. And in this very moment, Homura's God dies. God is dead. This is what Nietzsche declares in his 1882 work, The Gay Science. God is dead is not meant to be taken literally. The death of God, in Nietzsche's words, must be interpreted as the loss of Christian values through the loss of faith in the Christian God. As he writes in 1889 in Twilight of the Idols, when one gives up on the Christian faith, one pulls the right to Christian morality out from under one's feet. This morality is by no means self-evident. Christianity is a system, a whole view of things thought out together. By breaking one main concept out of it, the faith in God, one breaks the whole. When Homura realizes that Madoka would have never made that choice if not under extreme conditions, and that her selflessness has condemned her again, Homura loses all her faith in the divinity Madoka has become. Losing faith in Madoka means losing faith in the belief system and the new morality that Madoka has created. Losing faith in Madoka means that Homura no longer believes the new system to be fair or worth protecting. Her whole being is shaken to the core, but despite this she makes one last desperate attempt to keep Madoka and her secret safe, to protect the system, to protect the world that she has left behind. She chooses to die in her own hell, never reaching the love cycle to make sure that Madoka's secret is never revealed and that the incubators can never use her again. When this fails too, when Madoka saves her again, this is what Homura has to say, what she realizes. I won't hesitate any longer. She hesitated in stopping Madoka on the battlefield against the Walpurgis Knight. She won't do the same now. She does not believe in Madoka like before. It's no longer blind faith. She knows Madoka can lie, hide her true feelings, because she does not have all the answers. She's not just some divinity, she was human first, and humans are flawed. Homura wants to punish the incubators. She wants Madoka to be with her family and friends again. She wants to be with Madoka. She wants human Madoka. She does not believe in the sacred nature of Madoka's goddess form, so she takes Madoka's human form for herself and traps her on a fabricated earth. In this sense, Homura's journey in rebellion truly mirrors Nietzsche's view on human evolution. At the end of the original series, she's the camel, who obeys God, Madoka, who carries the heavy burdens of tradition, who bends its will in front of words such as thou shall. In rebellion, Homura reaches the next stage, that of the lion, rebelling against Madoka by destroying idols, by following words such as I want, seeking freedom from all metaphorical and ethical burdens. By the end of the movie, Homura has reached the final stage, that of the child, a creature without resentment who can childishly and innocently say yes to life, thereby creating a new moral system, one beyond good and evil. Homura is the Übermensch, the one who is capable of accepting existence as a tragic and Dionysiac dimension and thriving in it. She is the ruler of reality. The scene of Homura becoming a devil is honestly iconic, and it is hard to imagine it play out in any other way, which is why it is so interesting to me that Saito Chiwa, Homura's VA, recorded this scene in two very different takes from each other. In the first one, Homura sounds almost like a yandere, completely lost in her love for Madoka, with no trace of sanity lingering in her voice. The acting was so outstanding that even though this version was eventually trashed, it still survives as a special feature in the movie's Blu-ray. This version was cast aside by sound director Yota Tsuruoka, who decided that the lines spoken by Devil Homura required another kind of sentiment behind them. In the version that made it into the final cut, Homura's voice sounds almost neutral. She sounds like she normally sounds, and somehow it feels almost more chilling to hear her deliver certain lines without the hint of yandere creeping through. But why would they go for the second version? Specifically, what kind of direction did you take for the second take, which was the version you decided to go for? Tsuruoka. Basically, the movie's purpose was to investigate Homura's psychological state, and as more of the story progresses, the more it escalates until it's honed to a fine point. What I wanted to do was to revert a little to her psychological state near the beginning. The world might see her as evil, but I wanted it to be clear that she was just doing her best. That was what I focused on the most. At the beginning of the series, before we learn her backstory, we are led to believe that Homura is an antagonistic figure. The audience takes the words of those around Homura as the truth, while simultaneously feeling that something is left unsaid and unseen. Homura is doing it all for the grief seeds. Homura doesn't want Madoka to become a magical girl because she fears competition. Homura is mean and cold and ruthless. During episode 10, the audience is forced to do a 180 on the expectations that they held towards Homura as a character. Homura is not cold nor calculating. She's traumatized and in pain. Homura is not Madoka's enemy. She loves her, always has, and has been protecting her from the shadows this whole time. Homura was not scared of Madoka becoming competition, she was just trying to spare Madoka a world of suffering. In Rebellion, the same structure is present, although reversed. We now know that Homura is on the side of the protagonists, and we see her with her braids and her glasses, symbol of her uncorrupted, naive self. As the story progresses, the audience is once again forced to take all they thought they knew about Homura and throw it out the window. At the end of the movie, we ask ourselves, was Homura this selfish and evil all along? The ending of Rebellion has been controversial since its release, and I believe this is why. This ending leaves you feeling almost betrayed. You think you know Homura now, after spending 12 episodes and almost an entire movie slowly uncovering the carefully constructed layers that she uses to shield herself. And just as you reach the conclusion that Homura is a good girl, when she is finally about to reunite it with the one she loves, it all comes crumbling down. What I wanted to do was to revert a little to her psychological state near the beginning. The world might see her as evil, but I wanted it to be clear that she was just doing her best. That was what I focused on the most. Tsuruoka has told us all that we need to know about Homura. The audience might see her as evil, when Homura is just trying her best, both at the beginning of the series and now. Homura is a character that does not seek redemption nor forgiveness from the audience, and why should she? She does not believe herself to be worthy of any of that. All of the realest, most intimate machinations of her heart are hidden from us, yet in plain sight. All throughout Rebellion, the art style has been telling us that we find ourselves in a witch's maze. And the more Homura realizes the nature of this illusion, the more eerie and sinister the world around her looks. A couple of years ago, I went on a short trip to Stockholm and visited a lovely weeb store, and there I found the Blu-ray of Rebellion. Back at home, I read the booklet included inside over and over, and I was amazed at the discovery that the creepy-looking children seen throughout the movie are called Clara dolls, that they all have a name, and that they also have a function in Homolili's eternal funeral procession. Whew! Please keep in mind I'm an absolute beginner in Japanese. I took 2 random free uni courses and completed a couple of Duolingo chapters or whatever, and I've had a very hard time cross-checking whether the booklet's translation was accurate or not. A big thank you goes to jisho.org and their great kanji selection, and also to wiki.puella-magi.net, which is the main source I ended up using. Link will be in the description. The true meaning might still be a bit off, so you're warned. But anyway, here are the Clara dolls. The Clara dolls, the children of the false city. They play the role of the mourners. These dress-up dolls fake cry in order to liven up the funeral procession. The first one to come was Pride. Stepping over good-for-nothing's head that tumbled across the bare earth, she boldly spoke for all of them. How arrogant. You think I'd forgive you? This feeling is ours alone. The second one to come was Gloominess, walking out with a tapping sound. She sneered at good-for-nothing. This is good for nothing, how very unbecoming. These dolls are only disciples of freedom, and are devoted to their lust for it. The third one to come was Liar. She offered false tears to good-for-nothing soul. Alas, Mistress Good-for-Nothing, we are proud of your foolish soul. These dolls will sneer at the foolish and become their ally. From behind comes the fourth one, Heartlessness. She stumbled over Good-for-Nothing's head and pouted a little. Why don't we just cut Mistress Good-for-Nothing into tiny pieces to make her easier to carry? When the devil appears, these dolls will obediently follow. Further comes the fifth, selfishness, walking angrily. Is this funeral procession still going? We practiced so we could cry quickly, didn't we? I won't even wait a little bit longer, she huffed. These dolls are someone and no one at all. Coming out carefully is the sixth one, slander. As usual, she says hurtful things. Mistress Good for Nothing, you've been made into a clown. These dolls play house with casuality decided by entanglement. At last arrives the seventh, blockhead / gullible. This reticent doll laughs at the witch with her eyes. These dolls comply fairly well with the wishes of the witch, who is unlike a too serious soldier. The eighth to appear is jealousy. Spellbound, she looks up towards the heavens. Let's prepare a box. I want to lock away that radiance forever. These dolls are a meeting of colors. They are not empty. The ninth one, laziness, chats while yawning. Do I really have to participate in this game? Knitting is such a troublesome bother. She kicked Good for Nothing's tumbling head, which was in her way. Since the funeral procession hasn't started yet, these dolls take a leave of absence and wander about the city for a while. The tenth to come running is Vanity. She exaggeratedly avoids Good for Nothing's head and says a few words. I wouldn't be able to bear dirtying my cape with that sticky blood. These dolls make fun of the witch's self-mutilation. The 11th, trembling one, is cowardice. If I am taken into the sky, I won't be able to eliminate the rabbits. These dolls have a power like magic to implement a perfect recurrence. Walking unsteadily comes the 12th one, stupidity. She goes out of her way to go around to everyone and tells them a story that she heard from a bird some time ago. I heard this story from the goddess. She's a beautiful and radiant goddess. I'm sure she'll love us too. These dolls only want things within reach. The 13th footsteps are envy, or prejudices. Let's have a wonderful funeral procession like the one I heard in a story once. Let's bury lots of beautiful girls and cute animals together with her too. These dolls have a power that is not inferior to those of magical girls. Next one is the 14th, stubbornness. Pointing to the ground, she rejects the sky. The abyss of this mortal world is our stage. So, the mourners have gathered. They were pretty slow, but it's alright. All that's left to do now is wait for the funeral procession. Okay, let's play a game. How many Nietzsche references could you spot in the description of these dolls? There's also a 15th doll, but I'm not gonna reveal that one yet.
That's a surprise tool that can help us later.
So, these 14 dolls represent Homura's true feelings, the feelings that she hides from herself and the audience. They are the key to unlock her psyche, clearly. Here's a few examples. As she starts to remember and make sense of the truth, we see jealousy and cowardice stop their games in the background and stare at her. When Homura is kneeling at the feet of Madoka's statue, there are 10 dolls standing behind her, eating juicy pomegranates that they then throw towards the statue. Homura's lines in this scene eerily sound like those of a devoted believer praying to their god. Pomegranates have a special meaning in Japanese culture, and they're often used as the symbol of the Kishibojin, an evil ogress, mother of devils turned goddess. Legend says that the Kishibojin was an ogress who fed human babies to her own children. To show her the error of her ways, Buddha kidnapped one of her own children, and the anxiety and despair that she felt made her realize how much pain she had been inflicting on the mothers of the human children that she had taken. And since then, she became the goddess of motherhood and childbirth. The Kishibojin was not evil. She was simply not human enough to understand humans. But after she does, she devotes her existence to protecting those she had previously hurt. I believe the Kishibojin to be similar to Homura in this way, and that the Clara dolls parallel the Kishibojin's own children. But let us go back to the scene in question. The 10 dolls behind Homura are, from left to right, stupidity, sloth,
liar,
prejudice, blockhead or gullible, slender, pride, jealousy, heartlessness, and gloominess. These are the emotions that Homura is truly feeling and hiding at Madoka's feet. She feels all of this, but shields it all off with a defense made of heartlessness. Throughout the movie, Madoka is often compared to a spool of pink thread. In multiple scenes, the Clara dolls are heard sing-songing In 1920, Freud described a game played by his own 18-month-old grandson, which he named Fort Da. The child would repeatedly throw objects, including a spool of cotton thread, out of his cot, exclaiming approximations of the words fort, meaning gone, and da, meaning there. According to Freud, the game is meant to exemplify how the child transforms an unhappy situation, one in which they have no control over the presence of their parents, into a happy one in which the parents are at the beck and call of the child. Freud also interpreted it as a kind of revenge on the parents, a way of saying to them that they aren't so important. He also linked his behavior to his theory about the compulsion to repeat, which he defined as the desire to return to an earlier state of things. The Clara dolls, who represent Homura's psyche, in this instant can even be seen as a manifestation of Homura's inner child, who needs madoka, and childishly tries to go back to before madoka was a goddess, away from her. As if Homura's saying, "You're not as important as you think, not a god, just a girl, and I need you." And that is exactly what she does through a series of actions that seem illogical and self-centered to the viewer. Homura childishly tries anything in her power to return to an earlier state of things, even when that is impossible. Once a moment in time is gone, we can never get it back. Not really. Things will never be the same again. No matter how hard Homura struggles, no matter how wretched and desperate her actions are, she can never win against this force. Homura is so incredibly human. Her emotions contradict each other, and less than a fraction is visible to us, or even herself. To write Homura off as an obsessive, cruel individual is to miss the complexity of this character completely, going the easy way, believing just what Homura is willing to show us. Before this essay reaches its end, let me mention the elephant in the room. Puella Magi Madoka Magica as a deconstruction of the magical girl genre. After all, no discussion about the show would be complete without at least briefly addressing this. This chapter is only a brief interlude. I am not gonna go into too much detail. This analysis is about Homura and Homura only, and why I do not think that she was never a good person or that she was corrupted by her love for Madoka. I will join in with the Homura did nothing wrong jokes, but I don't actually believe that is the full truth either. But that is a discussion for the final chapter. Let's go into deconstruction discourse now. Madoka Magica is generally considered a deconstruction of the magical girl genre, intended as the act of breaking the genre into its basic components and then abuse these elements and develop them to their extreme consequences. In my opinion, Madoka Magica is a very good example of deconstruction because the tropes and elements that make up the magical girl genre are not exploited just because. This show is not dark just for the sake of being dark. When engaging in deconstruction, an author must have an aim. And I believe Urobuchi had one when he wrote the show. I believe that Madoka Magica employs deconstruction in order to answer questions regarding two main concepts, hope and fate. There are many questions at the core of the show. Is it foolish to hope? Is our fate fixed, or can we be agents of our destiny? Can hope influence our destiny? Is hope freeing or a curse? Are we better off accepting our fate without a fight, or should we suffer while we struggle? If life is but a struggle between hope and despair, and it keeps itself at zero, why even try? My next point is gonna reference Sisyphus, and if you don't know about him already, here is me filling you in. What you need to know about Sisyphus is that it was this guy from ancient Greek mythology who, after angering the gods, was cursed to roll a boulder up a hill for the rest of eternity. Every morning, Sisyphus will roll the boulder up the hill, and then every evening it will roll down, rinse and repeat. Okay, and now Camus. In 1942, Albert Camus, who, fun fact, is one of my favorite philosophers, published The Myth of Sisyphus, a philosophical essay in which he argued that we must think of Sisyphus as happy. Camus' thesis was that in a world dominated by chaos and the absurd, at least Sisyphus has a goal. Only when Sisyphus accepts the futility of his task and the certainty of his fate, he is freed to realize the absurdity of his situation and to reach a state of contented acceptance. Camus' essay ties back to the philosophical concept of the eternal return, the idea that the universe, all existence and energy itself are destined to keep repeating themselves forever, across time and space. Nietzsche made this concept one of the cardinal points of his philosophy, and wrote this in The Gay Science. What if some day or night a demon were to steal after you into your loneliest loneliness and say to you, "This life as you now live it and have lived it, you will have to live it once more and innumerable times more. And there will be nothing new in it, but every pain and every joy and every thought and sigh and everything unutterably small or great in your life will have to return to you, all in the same succession and sequence. Would you not throw yourself down and gnash your teeth and curse the demon who spoke thus? Or have you once experienced a tremendous moment when you would have answered him, 'You are a god, and never have I heard anything more divine'?" Nietzsche is often misunderstood. Most people view him as a nihilist with destructive tendencies and as a Nazi sympathizer, when none of this was true. Nietzsche never liked nihilism and spoke against it multiple times. When Nietzsche advocated for people to empty themselves and stop looking for a meaning in this life, he was not doing it out of a nihilistic intent. In his view, only when emptied, humanity can start creating their own goals and creating meaning. In other words, while a nihilist would simply say, "Nothing matters, YOLO," Nietzsche would say, "Yeah, nothing matters, I accept it, but I will invent something to give my life meaning." This is what art was to him. In his own words, art was the highest task and the true metaphysical activity of his life. This essay is titled Beyond Good and Evil after Nietzsche's 1886 book, which contains this very famous quote, "He who fights with monsters might take care, lest he thereby becomes a monster. And if you gaze for long into an abyss, the abyss gazes also back in you." What he actually intended by monsters and abyss are still discussed, though the most common interpretation is that the monsters are false moralities, for example the notion that the good man is the opposite of the evil man, and that the abyss is nothingness. However, the general meaning is quite obvious. Be careful when fighting or investigating what is foreign to you, for the harder you look, the more you risk being taken in and starting to mirror it. Now, you might be wondering, okay, all very cool and nice, but did you lose the thread? What is the purpose of this interlude? Okay, so here we go. My purpose was to cover these basic concepts of deconstruction, Sisyphus, Camus, Nietzsche, before presenting you with this famous quote by Urobuchi himself, because I feel like it will be more impactful now that we talked about this. "I have nothing but contempt for the deceitful thing that men call happiness, and find myself with no choice but to push my characters, whom I pour my heart and soul out to create, into the abyss of tragedy." Yeah, we noticed. At the beginning of this interlude, I mentioned how I think Urobuchi decided to use deconstruction in Madoka Magica in order to play with the concepts of hope and fate. Please note his vocabulary. Happiness, abyss, Camus, Nietzsche. I want to write another analysis in which I discuss Urobuchi's philosophy in more detail and on a broader scope, but my main point in including this digression in this specific essay is this: there is a purpose to this suffering. There is a purpose to Homura's character's pain. Looking at the hints of philosophy in the show and the movie, we can clearly see that viewing this character as good or bad defeats the whole purpose and depth of Urobuchi's work. In Rebellion's ending song, by Calafina, we hear this line: The great novelists are philosophical novelists. They consider the work of art as both an end and a beginning. It is the outcome of an often unexpressed philosophy, its illustration and its consummation. But it is complete only through the implications of that philosophy. Camus. Okay, last chapter. Let's do this. Homura loves Madoka. Whether you see her love as romantic or platonic, it is undeniable that Madoka is the most important person to Homura, the one she loves above everyone else. But she desecrated her Shiro reality again. She threw away Madoka's sacrifice, fabricating a reality in which to keep Madoka all to herself. She said it herself, that she's evil, that she's a demon. Is reality truly this black and white? Good people and bad people, selfish people and selfless people, all acting according to their nature without ever straying. I think good people can do terrible things intentionally for the people that they love, and that bad people can intentionally perform acts of kindness for the people that they love. And actually, is anyone truly ever only good or bad? I want to believe human morality is more complex than that. Madoka Magica as a show makes it a point to show the shades of grey that make up reality, the balance between the good and the bad keeping itself at zero, and the struggle of humanity caught in this balance but still striving to tip the scale towards the light. And at the center of it all, there's love. When I try to write love, it only turns into horror. Thinking about it with a clear head, feeling such deep emotions to some other person you don't even know is truly a terrifying thing. I wonder if love isn't a manifestation of madness in some way. And if Homura's actions were driven by love, a madness as defined by the author himself, can she truly be held accountable? Can she truly simply be a bad person? This chapter's title is a callback to Encomium of Helen by Greek sophist Gorgias, in which he tried to argue why Helen should not be held accountable for causing the War of Troy, as was the common belief at the time. This was a mere rhetorical exercise for the philosopher. However, I find it interesting that in one of the arguments he picks to defend Helen, he claims this. But if love is a human sickness and a mental weakness, it must not be blamed as a mistake, but as a misfortune. The wording is very similar to that of Urobuchi himself and his struggles in writing love. Love as a madness, love as a human sickness and a mental weakness that drives us to take extreme actions we would never even consider otherwise. When we see characters struggling with love and morality, we pick one of the only two labels that we believe make up human nature, good or evil, and assign them one on our own arbitrary standards. Childishly, we cling on to these simplistic definitions of good and evil, separating people and actions into these two categories without giving them room for redemption or damnation. Homura was never a good person. Homura did nothing wrong. Too easy, let's go further.
友達がね、大変なの。やってることも言ってることも多分間違ってなくて。なのに正しいことを頑張ろうとすればするほどどんどんひどいことになっていくの。
よくあることさ。悔しいけどね、正しいことだけ積み上げてけばハッピーエンドが手に入るってわけじゃない。むしろみんながみんな自分の正しさを信じ込んで意固地になるほどに幸せって遠ざかってくもんだよ。間違ってないのに幸せになれないなんてひどいよ。私どうしたらいいんだろう。そいつばかりは他人が口を突っ込んでも綺麗な解決はつかないね。たとえ綺麗じゃない方法だとしても解決したいかい？なら間違えればいいさ。正しすぎるその子の分まで誰かが間違えてあげればいい。間違える？本当に他にどうしようもないほどどん詰まりになったらいっそ思い切って間違えちゃうのも手なんだよ。それがその子のためになるって分かってもらえるかな。分かってもらえない時もある。特にすぐにはね。言ったろ、綺麗な解決じゃないって。その子のこと諦めるか誤解されるかどっちがマシだい？
Homura made one big mistake to try to save her friend. Is what she did wrong? Or is what she did right? Is she good or is she bad? Or is she just a girl, trying her best? There is another sentence that the Clara dolls repeat as they throw pomegranates at Homura.
God is taught. God is taught.
God is dead. Another Nietzsche reference, as if this movie didn't have enough. God is dead. God remains dead, and we have killed him. How shall we comfort ourselves, the murderers of all murderers? What was holiest and mightiest of all that the world has yet owned has bled to death under our knives. Who will wipe this blood off us? What water is there for us to clean ourselves? What festivals of atonement, what sacred games shall we have to invent? Is not the greatness of this deed too great for us? Must we ourselves not become gods, simply to appear worthy of it? Homura truly believes that her act of desecration towards the one she once worshipped has tainted her. Who will wipe this blood off her? She can never be pure again, can never find redemption. She believes that she's a demon. But does that mean that she really is unredeemable? I believe the answer lies in the name of the last doll and the way that she looks. She has no head, and her clothes are the same that Homura wore in her confrontation with Kyubi. Her name is Love. The 15th and last one to come is Love. Nobody has seen this devil yet. The night is not yet over. She will not end the night again. We are the mourners, the theater troupe of this mortal world. The night is not yet over. Not yet. Mada Dameyo, the song that plays throughout Rebellion, like a corrupted motif that gets creepier and sadder the more the movie progresses, from cheerful song with cute lyrics to a blood-chilling melody played with an accordion. I believe that Homura's story is not over yet. Her grief, her damnation, none of it is final. Morning will come, and her sins will be forgiven. What colors will morning bring? I think that is a story for the next movie. Thank you so much for sticking with me till the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I also hope you didn't hate all the silly memes I peppered throughout the video, and also that I explained some philosophical concepts clearly enough for even those who are new to the subject. Remember to check out the description box for sources and other stuff. Also, I'm thinking of maybe starting a Patreon. Let me know if you'd be interested in something like that, and let me know what you thought of this video in the comments below. See you next time. Hope you have a great day or night. Bye bye.